I'm kind of whispering this as we're walking.
I don't think so, no.
He did not.
Okay, so it's still, you think it's still in the vault?
Yeah.
Okay.
18.
18. You find it difficult to get a read on her. As far as her actual interest in the Kovnos, she seems sincere enough. Mm-hmm. But no, she absolutely was not out amongst the populace last night quelling fights. That said, inasmuch as there is a law in the land, you broke that law, and then she, when she had the opportunity, didn't punish or admonish you for it. She commended you for doing the right thing at a time when doing the right thing was illegal. And
that's why Wendy doesn't think much of the other leaders of this place right now. At least she's out here and she was trying to get the minnow back together. Great. But
do you ask her anything about the other leaders?
Yes. I want to get her read on the other leaders.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, are they all still alive?
They are, yes. There are 5 councilmen who are alive right now. There are some other nobles in higher class in the station in the minnow. The primary one being Handax. And she basically confirms, first of all, she has no love for Handax. She does not speak with him with any esteem at all. And as far as anybody knows, Handax left the minnow right after the wave hit, and nobody's seen him since. Handax has 2 counselors who support raising him to the council. The first is a Rakshasa named El Vosco. Do you guys know what a Rakshasa is?
Yeah, I think Redwood.
It's like a tiger man.
Yeah. Well, I was asking if you players knew what a Rakshasa was.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're cursed kind of tiger people with a very heavy Arabian bent to them. He made his fortune in spices as a trade merchant, and then when he was done with that and already super rich and wealthy, he lived a second life as a pirate, raiding southern vessels. So he started the pirate game already at the top, and then he stayed at the top, and then eventually he retired to the council here. The other one who supports raising Handax is Adjara Ashal. And nobody really knows anything about her. She's a Githyanki, which nobody in this world even knows what a Githyanki is, because she's probably the only one here. She can move things with her mind. She can teleport at will. And these are things that she can actually do. These are not rumors. People have actually seen her do these things. Both of these people spent last night basically protecting their own interests. Basically making sure that their wealth and property was secure. The third councilman, his name is Perler Cloudstealer. He is a Southling half-elf. He is known for spending almost his entire income on his wardrobe. And he's also well known for being very, very easy to scam. He has a lifelong dream that he pursues to build a vessel that sails the skies instead of the seas. And many times, very publicly, he's been approached by approached as an investor, like, hey, if you give 1 million gold to our endeavor, we have like this gnomish tribe who is building this thing. And this has happened to him several times, and it doesn't seem to faze him. He has a bottomless pit of wealth somewhere.
I mean, that is rad.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have dreams, I guess.
This is the Elon Musk of the council.
Basically, yeah. The next one, his name is Ben Eric. Ben Eric is an old and jolly orc. He wears an eye patch with a grinning face painted over it, and he is known to grin just as wide and laugh just as loud as his eye patch implies. He has a kind of macabre reputation. It's difficult to tell. If you didn't know him, you'd think that his laughter and his smiles were just very genuine and very happy, but those who know him best know that there is a darkness behind them. He's also the richest in terms of how many ships he owns and how many captains pay him tribute. It seems like half the ships in the Kovnos are under his thumb.
Mm.
The last counselor is a hobgoblin named Kragtyr. And Kragtyr is not even a name. It's just the hobgoblin word that literally translates to general. Well, it's the hobgoblin word for general. It literally translates to harsh commander. Kragtyr ran his pirate ship like a hobgoblin regiment. Raazu would have been proud. Nobody knows his real name. He's a military genius, and his frustration is that Kovnos doesn't have a standing army that's only loyal to the Cove. Kragtyr himself wasn't out and about last night, but you did notice more hobgoblins around that you hadn't seen the previous day. And Ogden confirms for you that Kragtyr sent his men out to assist in keeping the peace, making sure that lives and property were secure. She doesn't really know what the other two counselors did as far as the emergency efforts.
How is someone elected to the council?
I was actually curious about that too, but
Yep.
yeah.
There are no set rules. It just, a consensus just kind of happens. Usually it's a lot of behind the scenes double dealing and backstabbing and gold changing hands.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, there's no if you see white smoke or if you see gray smoke situation here.
So
But, like,
there's
who has
can
to
I-
agree?
Counselors, I'm assuming.
And again, there's no set answer to that.
Okay.
Can I ask a dumb question as someone who's not good at this politics stuff? There's 6 people on the council? What if it's split down halfway?
That was actually getting to what I wanted to ask, is why not just leave it at 5 or go to 7?
She says that was the council's original intent, way back in the day, almost 100 years ago, when the council was first come together. But at the time, there was a pirate captain named Captain Goldnail. And Goldnail was kind of the Blackbeard of his time. Everybody feared him. Everybody hated him. No ship stood a chance against him. Part of why the Kovnos organized was to have strength in numbers against captains like that. And of course, Goldnail just muscled his way in. He's like, y'all are going to have a 5-chair council. That's cool. I'm going to pull up a chair right here, and if any of you disagree with me, I'll just have you killed. So that's what happened. Ogden's father poisoned Goldnail, and so they gave Demny Ogden the 6th chair. At the time, he was a young rapscallion, maybe 13, 14 years old, and assassinating Goldnail was seen as such an amazing feat. It didn't seem possible, but he pulled it off, and that's why he took the 6th chair.
Who looks a little amused
Okay.
at that?
Do you normally make your decisions by votes? Does the council normally make their decisions by votes? Aside from who becomes the next counselor?
She says that the voting can often just be a formality. A lot of the times the voting breaks down to what deals have been made amongst the counselors and other powerful captains. They're lobbyists, essentially.
It sounds like what you need isn't a seat on the council, but some sort of governor or president position where you could just overrule the council if need be.
And then Ogden says, you mean a captain?
Yeah.
And that's what she's been saying the whole time. The Kovnos need
Ah, okay.
Ghoul looks
Yeah,
a
I
little
like that.
skittish
I like
at
that.
but
Because then you could get this Handax whatever a seat on the council, but it really wouldn't matter because you would be captain.
Or you could not give Handax a seat on the council, keep the council at an even vote at a more reasonable voting number, and still have a captain.
Sure, if we could get that too. That's probably preferable, but this is politics, so I imagine in the end someone gets screwed either way.
I don't know, usually they just, end up dead, from my experience. like that Black Nail fellow. That sounds like the way politics usually ends. Not poison, not for Yuan-ti anyway, but...
Well, there have been many counselors over the past 100 years or so. Tara's father sat the council the entire time. He just died last week. He was like 90 years old. But there's actually very little open violence between the counselors because that would be bad for business. Very few of these seats become vacant through assassination. Of course, when her father died, there were all these rumors and like he had been assassinated, but no, he was just very, very old and he died in his sleep. That's what Tara confirms.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask, like, was the old man poisoned? But I guess not.
And at this point, you all arrive at the minnow. And she tells you that your captain is in some small measure of danger. And that whether or not the allegations against him are true, she thinks it would be best for the Kovnos if Captain Eyes is not held responsible for this tidal wave.
Ain't no fucking way he's responsible for that.
She asks if you intend to use that sort of language in the presence of the council.
Ghoul looks a little bit sheepish.
Perhaps some sort of atonement still would be necessary if my understanding is correct and you think that it's the relic that's aboard his ship. Obviously, he wouldn't be responsible, but maybe he could, as atonement, take responsibility for destroying or setting right the artifact that caused.
Let's just go find the rest of these Kraken priests, put them down, and call that our atonement.
Tara pauses for a moment. It's the first time she stopped her stride since you all set off towards the minnow. And now you're standing at the bottom of the gangplank. And she turns back to Wendy and she says, "Do you think you can find one?"
And Wendy looks around at the cove and says, "We've got a lot of pirates here, all with their own ships, and a lot of very pissed off people at Kraken priests. I think somebody here knows something."
She asks how swift you can be in these investigations.
As swift as I need to.
She tells
13
you
hours.
when you find one to bring them immediately to the minnow and barge in dramatically. These pirate captains especially love dramatics.
And Wendy would be smiling, but she can't because she has a beak, so she just kind of ruffles her feathers a bit,
Okay.
and then she takes off.
Okay. Wendy, make an investigation check and just sit on the roll for now. And the rest of you, she takes down into the minnow. And a lot of repairs are happening. Quite a lot of... You hear the sounds of wood sawing and hammers nailing. She takes you to the side of the minnow it's still kind of listing. The floor is not completely even, so it's very difficult to set down a drink right now. But she takes you below decks into a large chamber where there is this enormous circular table. And sitting around it, you see the other counselors that I described. Well, actually, all the counselors. Tara is not one.
Ghoul's a little bit starstruck.
You also see... Well, these counselors, they're not... Getting in to see, like, one of these counselors would not be similar to getting in to see, like, the president. Like, if you have business with one, you could pretty much just approach them. Or one of their agents.
Yeah, but Ghoul's just like the rank and file. He would never be this high up.
How would I have business with them?
Yeah.
Also in this room, but very notably not sitting at this table, is Captain Eyes. And he's sitting kind of with his hands folded in front of him, looking bemused. He does seem to cheer slightly when you all step into the room. And Tara says that she found 4 of the people that Captain Eyes has indicated, but she was not able to come across the feathered pirate. She says if she knows what's good for her, she won't return to the Kovnos either.
Can I
Not
do
after
an
having
insight to
buried
see
Steve.
how well that went over with if everyone else spot that?
You get the immediate sense that when Tara says something, the council listens. They don't have any reason to disbelieve her. If Tara had said, I scared her away, they would believe her because Tara is very scary.
Okay.
But yeah, she is blatantly lying to the council about what happened with Wendy. Wendy, what was that investigation check?
I had to burn some blips, but that was an 18.
An 18? Okay. The counselors, primarily Elvosco and Ajara, the Rakshasa and the Githyanki, who Tara said both support hand axe being raised to the council. The accusation is that everybody knows that the Deceit recently sank the Blue Nixie, and some of the crewmen know that they fought a Kraken priest. Everybody's taking credit for it. Every crewman aboard the Deceit personally killed this Kraken priest to hear them tell it. So they know that this relic came into the possession of the Deceit, and this possession was not disclosed in the message that the Deceit sent to the guard tower to request entrance into the cove. The accusation is they brought a dangerous Kraken relic to the doorstep, and it's against the rules to do that, essentially. They would have been denied entry without first doing something with this relic. Captain Eyes has told them that this relic does not exist. And that's the situation that you all step into. Red is probably the only one of the four of you that's had any prior experience with politicking, I would think. Because Birdie was a treasure slave, and Adrex couldn't spell the word politics if his life depended on it. Is that correct?
If you give him like 10 minutes, I'm sure he could. And a few tries.
10 minutes and a running start.
So, Red, make an insight check.
Sure.
I will hunt and kill a politics.
Believe that's a 17, but let me double check.
Every now and then in 5th edition, I come across some class feature that, like, as a DM, I hate it. I hate it. Red's never going to fail a skill check. It's not fucking possible. He's a rogue. But in my Saturday game, I'm playing a rogue that now has that class feature.
It's great.
I love it so much.
It's 17 on
Okay.
Which feature is that?
on the insight.
What's it called? It basically, it says if you roll less than a 10 on a skill check, you rolled a 10.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you can't.
Right.
It's so you can fail skill checks, but only if they're super super high DC.
You'd have to be doing something preposterous anyway.
Right. Red, you watch the back and forth a little bit, and it's difficult to tell what's lies and what's not. Obviously, you know that Captain Eyes and Tara have both lied, but here's the sense that you get: 3 of the counselors, or I should say 2 of the counselors, Cloud Stealer and Ben Eric, are looking for reasons to exonerate Captain Eyes. They have political reasons why they don't want him accused of this thing. Craig here just wants the truth to come out. The other 2, Elvosco and Ajara, are looking for reasons that Captain Eyes is guilty. And you're able to glean this from a few moments of conversation. So I want all 4 of you to, because they're going to start asking questions kind of Fast and Furious style. What is your goal in this situation? Are you trying to be for or against Captain Eyes here?
I mean, 4, obviously.
Do you,
Anybody
need to
else?
ask, do you need to ask Wu? It's quite literally on his character sheet.
Okay. Birdie and Adrex,
Just follow Red's lead.
you're going to follow Red's lead.
Yeah.
And Adrex.
Yeah. He'll go along with Ives. Eyes.
Okay. So I need each of you to come up with some supporting argument that this relic doesn't exist. Eyes has already told the council that it's a rumor, that there was no Kraken priests, that the men are just drunk off of a very easy victory that cost them very little in terms of blood and treasure. He wants to find out as much as everybody else what caused this tidal wave. But yeah, he's lying through his teeth, and he needs the four of you to support that lie. Windy, you got an 18.
Yeah.
Roll 2d12.
Okay.
What?
D12.
2 of them.
My notes say a d12. What do you want from me?
Do you need them in any particular order?
Add them together.
Okay, 13.
Okay. Is Windy looking for an actual Kraken priest, or is she looking for somebody that she can like dress like one? and
Windy
pass
is looking
on?
for an actual Kraken priest or someone who knows where one is.
Okay. And on a scale of 1 to 10, is she willing to use like violence to get this done quicker? Will she start shaking fools down?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. You hear of a very quickly, actually, because this Kraken priest thing is on a lot of people's tongues. This is a cult that is seen as evil amongst pirates because Krakens, they sink vessels. That's what they do. It's the only thing that they're good at. And the cults that form up around these Krakens, which are powerful enough to be essentially gods. A typical Kraken is easily as powerful in their element as one of the Wind Dukes or one of the ancient dragons is in theirs. And these cults are seen as destructive, but they're also seen as sources of great power, so they're very tantalizing. And you're able to essentially chase down some rumors that there is such a cult operating just outside of the Kovnos. And you get a few names of people who are inside the cove today that might be associated with this cult. And after only 13 minutes of flying back and forth, you come across one of these men. He was injured during the wave last night, but it's kind of a trivial injury. He's walking with a limp, and you can tell he's kind of hamming it up.
All right.
He's not dressed like the priest you saw on the ship. He's not like a stick figure. He's not covered in robes, and he's not carrying any overt symbols. But you've gotten confirmed from a few people during your quick investigation that this is one of the people that is associated with this cult.
All right, I'm going to take him in.
Just swoop down and grab him.
All right.
Carry him
Like a
off
hawk.
like an eagle.
Are there any yeah? Are there any people nearby who I trust to help me grab him?
Do you actually trust any of the people that were helping you last night?
Trust is a sliding scale, Rickard.
Right.
Basically,
you can call out for
what
some
I
help
want to
if you
do is strong arm him in. But if like the way Windy works, if that doesn't be the case, I'm gonna have to knock him out, and I need someone to help me carry him.
Okay. So what do you tell the
Because you
people?
could carry me.
That's true. I did carry you that one time. What do I have to roll?
You don't have to roll anything. You have to tell me, like, when you see one of your deputies from last night in the crowd nearby, like, what do you tell them about this person you need apprehended?
I tell them that he's associated with the Kraken cult, and I think he might know something about what caused the wave, and I'm going to bring him in to speak to the council.
And when you say that, the man cries out, points at the priest or the cultist, and says, "He's the one that caused the wave! Bring him down!" And nearby pirates wrestle him to the ground. And by the time you get in there, he's bruised and whimpering and kind of covering his head.
Hey, it is what it is. Let's bring him to the council.
Okay. Adrex.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to start with Gwu, because Gwu has served under Captain Eyes the longest. And Gwu, I mean, when you guys make your introductions to the council, Captain Eyes even pipes up and tells you that Gwu has served as a loyal man on his ship for several years now. He's one of my quartermaster's most trusted men. And he says some things that Gwu wouldn't consider true about how much of a value he is to the vessel. They're not untrue, but you don't. Captain Eyes doesn't talk like this about his men. Like, yesterday you were one of his strongest hands. Today you are an incredible asset aboard the Deceit that could not function without you, kind of thing.
Gonna go good in your quarterly review.
Oh, yeah, he does appreciate being fluffed up a little bit.
So what do you tell the council?
I tell the council that I've served under Captain Eyes for months now, and
Well, months,
Captain
because he said
Eyes-
years.
oh, did he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, no, I will stick with that.
Okay.
then. I'm not that stupid. I'll say that Captain Eyes has led us on a lot of jobs, and I can't think of any reason to doubt his ability to handle some of the jobs that we've pulled.
And you feel that you've always
by-
gotten your fair share of the treasure. For example, Captain Eyes is not the type who would find a magical relic aboard a vessel that you have taken and then keep it for himself without paying his crew their share of its value.
Yeah.
To be clear, Captain Eyes is totally the type of captain that would do that.
Yeah, but Gru knows where to knows the situation he's in and knows how to talk.
Okay.
It might end up in a little extra something later.
Gwu, make an insight check.
I was knocking those out of the park last week, but with only a +1 bonus, so we'll see how that bears out
There's
here.
20 numbers on the die.
I got a pretty good one. That's a 17.
As they fish for more information about these magical relics, because the Deceit's kind of mission statement is to amass magical power. One of the reasons Gwu is not an officer is he doesn't have one of these tattoos that the other officers are rumored to have. That's
Yeah.
the reason, say, Sweetie Bird gets a bigger share of the treasure than you do. So a lot of people that serve aboard the Deceit, even with the understanding that they're not getting a full share of these relics still increase the power and prestige of the ship that you serve on. However, Eyes has very clearly downplayed this amongst this council. They don't know that that's the Deceit's game. And you're getting the sense that Eyes has been trying to steer them away from this aspect of the Deceit for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, do you say anything about the tattoos or the other magic items that he's got?
No, because I imagine that having served with him so long, he would know that Captain Eyes tries to downplay that kind of stuff, so he would also keep that on the down low.
All right, make a deception check.
I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively spend 2 blips before I know that, because my bonus is only a whopping +0 for deception.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and burn through it. Oh well, never mind then. That's a 12.
A 12?
That's a 12.
Adrex,
Yeah.
Captain Eyes has told the council that you've been assisting the ship's surgeon, that you have saved men's lives aboard his ship that before you joined the crew would have been considered miraculous. That you have also, much to the ship's health, like you have started to instate these mental and physical health regiments, and the men seem healthier and happier, and you were very well loved aboard the vessel for doing this. Very
Wow.
few of those words are actually true.
Yeah.
What's your case for Captain Eyes?
Those are some words.
Yeah. Everything Captain Ives said is true. Adrex's approach is going to be that he's going to very purposefully play dumb if asked any questions. Dumb more so than he normally is, so that the council can't get any kind of read or information on them.
So you're going to play dumber than he normally is?
Yes.
The idea being that the count, like, we don't want to talk to this Dragonborn any more than we have to.
Yes, exactly.
As you start playing that game, the more you do it, the more that the Rakshasa and the Githyanki start grilling you. These two people, and you don't have Red's insight into the situation, but for some reason, the dumber you try to act, the harder they push against. So you haven't seen these magical relics.
Nope.
Do you heal? One of the questions that Elvosco asks the Rakshasa is, when you heal these men miraculously, do you do so with your surgical acumen, or is there magic involved?
Surgical acumen. And Adrex rummages around his pack, takes out his healer's kit.
Okay.
See?
And they continue kind of berating you with various questions until eventually Krogtyr speaks up very gruffly. And he says, "There's nothing more this man can tell you." Adrex, make a deception check.
That is a 18.
18. Adrex didn't crack under pressure. Good job.
I did have a backup in case he did, but this is better.
Birdie. Captain Eyes has he's introduced you as essentially an artilleryman. You are an extraordinarily skilled archer. He's seen you hit targets with burning arrows through fog, through rain, at ranges that would make your head spin. He says absolutely nothing about how much holy stoning you've been doing. He also says absolutely nothing about how you tried to break into his room that one time.
I didn't try to break in his room. I succeeded in breaking in his room.
He doesn't
Thank
say
you
anything
very
about that
much.
either. What is
I mean,
Birdie's case here?
I didn't see nothing. Like, I don't know.
Didn't see nothing?
I didn't see nothing. Don't know nothing.
Can't prove I did neither.
I'm just a kobold.
At this point, Krogtyr speaks up. And they're all drinking out of big mugs that they have to hold all the time because the goddamn table is sitting at an angle. Krogtyr speaks up and he says that kobolds, goblins, the rat folk, the other small races, their greatest advantage is that they are overlooked. And it has been my experience on land, on sea, here at the Kovnos, that a kobold who asks to be overlooked should be looked at all the more harshly.
Birdie points at him and goes, "I like you."
Krogtyr says, "Nobody's ever said that before. I feel loved for the first..." No, Krogtyr doesn't say that. Fuck that. And at kind of Krogtyr's insistence, the rest of the council they don't buy that you didn't see anything. You'd have them believe that you can fire an arrow through complete darkness and fog at 1,000 feet before anyone else can even see the vessel you're firing at, and you will hit your mark, but you didn't see whether or not Captain Eyes took this relic from the Blue Nixie?
I wasn't there.
So then the question is, what were you doing during the attack on the Blue Nixie?
No, I mean, I was there on the Blue Nixie. I wasn't there when they were looting the ship. I was carrying dead bodies back.
Elvosco says, I too have experience with your kind aboard my vessels. It's my expectation when I take one of the little dragonlings aboard that their curiosity and greed compels them to sneak into dark corners where they're not wanted. Is that also your experience?
It is, but Birdie hangs his head low. He says, I was grounded.
Says what?
I love it.
He asks whether or not you've had such curiosity during your time serving aboard the Deceit.
Birdie looks in the middle distance and goes, and he shakes and he scratches his head. He goes, "Yeah, I think I got a goblin stabbed for that."
And then they want the story because everybody likes to hear about goblins getting stabbed.
Oh, somebody was still in the room, you see. And then I found out that a goblin had a key, and then I told another kobold, and the kobold stabbed him. End of story.
And during these experiences trying to sate your curiosity, trying to look into places where you're not supposed to look, have you ever come across a cache of magical objects or relics aboard the Deceit? Keeping in mind, Birdie knows that there is a locked door in the hold that puts you to sleep if you try to open it.
Yeah, but I haven't been in the locked door.
So what do you tell this council?
That I have been in no rooms that were full of magical devices that I have seen.
Birdie, make either a persuasion or performance check. It's your choice.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're both +0.
It matters to me. Which one are you using? I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important.
Performance.
You giant
19.
bag of nerds.
19.
19?
Make the performance check because it sounds more hilarious.
Okay. And Red.
Mm-hmm.
Absurdly suspicious denial.
Like Gwu, you're just a trusted man of the crew. During the attack on the Blue Nixie, you were one of the first to board the opposition ship. You fought bravely and with a bloodlust that is very rarely seen amongst the men of his crew. That you are well respected with a fighter. You fight with knives the way he's seen hobgoblins fight with great axes. He says absolutely nothing about you spending the first 2 weeks chained to an oar. Or the fact that bloodlust is the furthest word anybody would ever use to describe Red.
Except when it comes to slavers.
So what's Red's case for Captain Ice?
Well, all right, and I'm going to have to ask for my captain's forgiveness here, but I have to let you into a little secret on the ship. The captain is actually a masterful strategist, and we already knew that the Nixie was abusing supernatural powers in the area. I am not merely a decent knife fighter. I'm also excellent at getting aboard other ships and getting a layout for them before we attack them. And I'm sorry, Captain, I just needed to make sure, they have to know. That's a good cover story, that's what we usually go with, but these people deserve the truth. I slipped aboard the Blue Nixie before the assault, maybe an hour ahead of time, and I can also tell you the reason for the rumors of the Kraken priest. Now, the undead were real, and they were horrifying. They were one of the worst things I've ever seen, and everyone who was talking about having slain a zombie, those are true stories. They had a group of cadavers laying in rest, waiting for when they would come into combat. It was terrifying, and obviously what part of the reason that the men's minds were so open to the supernatural, even if it's irrational, for this Kraken priest thing. But I do know why there was a Kraken priest, supposedly. While I was on the ship, One of the aft corridors was locked. I popped the lock open and popped my head in. They had a cabin boy. He couldn't have been more than 12, dressed in these very heavy robes. And when he came out, everyone aboard their ship shouted, "The Kraken priest is here. You're all going to be sent to the bottom of the ocean." One arrow dropped him. I think it was just an intimidation tactic. They hoped between that and the zombies, everyone would run fleeing into the night. And again, Captain, I do have to apologize for revealing that, but these good people do deserve to know.
Make a persuasion or performance check.
Mm-hmm.
One of the two.
This is where he rolls a 1.
So 24 on persuasion.
Okay.
Never mind.
And Captain Eyes says he's currently not wearing his black glass goggles now that he's below deck. And you can see his actual eyes. He has, however, removed his giant wide-brimmed hat because he's not a goddamn barbarian. He's indoors. He's going to take his hat off.
I never take my hat off. Never.
For a moment, you see this this flash of what secrets is this Yuan-ti that I already don't trust about to reveal to this council.
That's what I wanted them to think. That would add authenticity to the story that we normally don't tell people.
But then you see the recognition on his face, like, oh, I see what he's doing. And he says, the Deceit has many secrets, as every ship does, but the nature of this magic, I suppose parting with one of my secrets is worth finding its source. And then he bids you continue, and you finish telling the story. And make a deception check for the council.
That would be a 19.
Okay. The council kind of devolves into an argument where Elvosco and Ajara are convinced that you, because Captain Eyes is so well loved by his crew and they're here flush with wealth off of an easy victory, they're convinced that you're all covering for him. Cloudstealer and Beneric are convinced the other way. And Cragtier,
he's the swing vote.
He's... And... Cool, make an insight check.
8.
8. That's a low number.
That is a low number. I knew it was inevitable, really.
Had to happen.
Cragtier eventually, as this bickering continues between the council, he eventually punches the table and startles everybody. And he says that he believes that there is a Kraken relic aboard the Deceits. He is unconvinced that Captain Eyes or anybody aboard that vessel would know how to activate it. He says that he's going to withhold judgment until a thorough investigation can be done on the Deceit. They'll hold the captain here and the minnow for the time being to ensure that there are no priests aboard, that the Kraken cult has not taken hold there.
And then I'm going to kick the door open.
That's exactly when you kick the door open, yeah. Dangling this Kraken priest, or who you say is a Kraken priest. And
cloak fluttering in the wind.
You now have the floor.
And I'm going to say, I found someone who knows where the Kraken priests are.
And what do you do with this guy as you burst into the room?
I throw him in front of me onto the floor.
And as soon as the guy hits the floor, and he lands, and he throws his arms up kind of over his head, looking in the room, Tara walks over to him, draws the longsword from her side, and places it to the side of his neck, and bids him talk. The man says he comes clean, says that he runs errands for the Kraken priests. the cult operating in an underground complex outside of town that he was hoping to be inducted, but he was sent out into the Kovnos the night of the wave. And the council two of the council people, Elvosco and Ajara, don't believe him. They say that this feathered woman is one of the crewmen aboard Captain Ives' ship. Of course, she would do this dramatic gesture to prove his innocence. And Krogtier's opinion is more along the lines of, didn't I hear that you took your sword out last night and press ganged a bunch of people to go around and thump heads?
And when do you look over at him? This is the one who sent out the hobgoblins?
Yeah, the first day you were here, while you were running around and getting stoned and buying food, and you didn't. There were a few around, but not many. Last night you saw many, many more out and about.
And Wendy will look over at him and nod and say, "I believe we have you to thank for helping keep the peace with your what would they be, crew?"
And you see him kind of bristle at the compliment. And he says, well, the Kraken priest on the ground begins telling you about this underground complex. He's spilling his guts. And Kragtier says that he's going to withhold his judgment on Captain Ives and this tidal wave until such a time as these claims can be investigated. And he says that there's nobody better to investigate than the five of you who are here to prove your captain's innocence. If you can bring him evidence that there is a cult of the Kraken operating near to the Kovnos and prove that they caused the tidal wave, then there's no reason to accuse Captain Ives.
Makes sense. And Wendy will step over to the priest dramatically, keep billowing, and send a gust around the room. Wendy can't see shit in this room right now, so she's trying to get a read for where the hell everyone is.
No,
So she's actually going to burn a gust.
Oh, so you're going to use gust in the whole room?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody who can see, make an insight check.
I think I've rolled more insight checks as Glue than I have.
10.8. That's an 18.
18?
You've had Glue roll more insight checks than you've ever had Raazu. That was a 5.
This is the most political session of this campaign we've ever ran.
That's true.
How did Birdie and Adrex do?
14.
And Birdie?
13.
Okay. When Wendy does this display of power, she makes this gust of wind. You know she's trying to get a read of the room, but you're more interested in the reactions of the counselors. You would expect the hobgoblin and the orc especially to be very perturbed by a show of magic like this. However, the orc isn't. Ben Eric seems delighted when this bird woman walks in the room and starts sending a gust of wind around the room. And that strikes you as very, very strange for an orc.
And then I'm just going to kind of kick the guy on the ground and say, your people sold you out and sent you back here before they sent the wave. I want you to tell us how we get in at them.
And he gives you the location of this shack out in the woods south of the Kovnos. It's an old hunter's shack. It's been in disuse and disrepair for years, but there's a secret door leading down into a cave that often parts of it flood during high tides. and that the cave beneath the cave was constructed a temple to the Kraken.
So it's probably still super flooded from the wave.
And I'll just stand up and head towards the door.
Okay.
The rest of you coming?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And the second we get out the front door, I'm gonna turn towards Adrex and say, "What was that? Was that good?"
Yeah. That was real good.
Hell of a show, bird woman.
Listen, you. Adrex gets up and goes grill again.
Nose to nose. That's he stares you down, nose to nose.
So Gru has to hunch down to get nose to nose.
What? I'm waiting. Gru walks away.
Birdie sneaks up behind Red and says, "Hey, you think we can stab him now?"
Hand axe is missing. Probably best not to stab him until we find out where he's going to end up.
Yeah, I need to ask Kandak some questions anyway.
Are you guys immediately heading out to the shack, or is there something? Because you all have levels of exhaustion. Some of you have some damage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we are kind of beat up.
We should probably do a long rest.
Okay.
And then head out.
I think that's reasonable, unless you want to do a long rest out in the wilderness outside of this area.
Probably not a good idea. Because didn't Brickroad say that this place is it is surrounded by dangerous flora and fauna?
So let me show you where on the world map you actually are. So the Kovnos is over here. And you have to approach it from the south. Approaching it from the north by land is virtually impossible. There's impenetrable terrain. These forests are known for being incredibly dangerous, and making that journey is a thing of legends, basically. So the Kovnos is in a place that's very well protected from all sides. There's no settlements here. The orcs and the goblins leave it alone. It can only be approached at sea by the south, and they have it dammed off.
Okay.
As you guys are leaving the Kovnos...
Are we permitted to go back to the deceit?
Sure, if you want.
Because the reason why I'm asking is we need to put the screws to what's his face? God. What's his name? It's in the
Thaumaturge?
Yeah, we need to
Rhodos.
Yeah, Rhodos. We need to put the screws to Rhodos, find out what the fuck he did with that thing.
Is it your intention to take a long rest on the deceit? Or to take a long rest in the wilderness?
I'd rather take a long rest in the cove itself.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I'd like to get everything as sorted here as we can before we leave.
I also
we
think
can't-
we shouldn't go back to the deceit, because if we find some awesome Kraken relic, and by awesome I mean horrible, and then bring it back, people will claim we took it off the ship.
Yeah.
So we should,
Fair point.
under absolutely no circumstances, be able to be proven that we're on the ship between now and heading out.
Yeah, I think it's best to be very visibly getting ready for our journey.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Fair point.
As you're going about this, you're approached by an agent of El Vosco. A very well-dressed, smooth-talking young woman sidles up to you guys as you're going about your preparations. And she commends you. El Vosco would like to send his deepest, most heartfelt gratitude that you were looking into this evil on our doorstep and rooting this cult. And she says, however, and she loosens a coin purse. And she hands it over to you. Does anybody accept it?
Who's Elvosco?
Elvosco's the Rakshasa. He's one of the ones that wants to see Captain Eyes go down.
Wendy will kind of put her hand under the bag, but not just take it yet, and say, and repeat her last word back at her. However,
She says that while the evil of the Kraken cult is indeed, and she drops the coin purse into your hand,
Mm-hmm.
is indeed destructive, as we've seen, there's more than one cell operating. If there's one operating in the Kovnos, well, who knows how many could be operating in the holds of any number of ships, including, perhaps, the Deceit?
And at that, Red will take the money, will sleight of hand the money out of Wendy's claw and back onto the woman's belt.
You don't have to sleight of hand it out of my claw. Wendy's more than happy to let you take it from her.
Right, but I want to do that before she notices.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wendy, don't betray Rakshasa. It never ends well.
Make a sleight of hand check.
Yep. Ooh, that's a 7.
7. Okay. And you managed to hide this purse back on her person. She gives no indication that she noticed anything happened.
She got a pretty good bluff score. Okay.
But essentially, she's saying, by all means, root out this Kraken cult in the Kovnos. But if you also have evidence that the cult is operating aboard the Deceits, there's more where this came from. You'll be rewarded for bringing it to Elvosco. And that's... She leaves you with that. Other than that, she's very, very pleasant. She buys you all drinks. She wishes you safe journey. Everybody go ahead and take the benefits of the long rests.
Yay.
One more round.
Is anybody going back to the Deceit to grill Rhodos?
No.
No. All right. Let's go ahead and take our break here. And when we come back, we will get going in... I guess I can load up the dungeon here.
Krakenville.
You all can look at it for a little while.
All right, let's get cracking.
Population you.
Fucker! God damn it! You
Let's
knew I was
reconvene
waiting
in
to say
15
it.
minutes.
You knew it. You said it anyway.